Hello again. Welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. I'm Eric Sfiligoj, editor of CropLife and CropLife Iron magazines. Here today with Lara Sowinski, my good partner in crime, joining me from El Paso. Lara, welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, I'm assuming your weather in Texas is. I suspect you don't have as many leaves falling in your yard as I do in mine here in Ohio. The last few days, we've had a few nights where the frost has appeared, which usually means my trees just drop all their leaves en masse. I know I'll be enjoying a festive weekend of putting all the leaves on the front lawn for pickup next week by the city. So,
Wow. So sorry for you. I just have three little cactus in my they're not dropping anything. So
oh my goodness. All right. Well, Lara, on that happy note, I know we have some news to share with our audience. Of course, this is something that we've been talking about. We were talking about for many videos. That was the possibility of a rail strike happening. I guess the engineer unions, a few of them were disputing, having some issues with the contracts being offered by the rail carriers, but that all got kind of ironed out. But lo and behold, we found out this week, at least I did, that the rail strike possibility still exists. Because I guess, let me get this name right, the Brotherhood of Maintenance of Way Employees Division. Their members have voted down the latest contract proposal from the railroad carriers, and they're going to continue negotiating between now and November 19th. But about a month from now, if there is no contract in place, it sounds like they may be going on strike. So we may have engineers for the trains, but we'll have no maintenance people to be repairing them if they break down. So we'll have to be following this story as we move forward between now and just before Thanksgiving.
yeah, I think you said it. We thought it was ironed out, but apparently there was a wrinkle that they missed, and things that are already kind of in slow motion in a lot of ways. I think particularly, I'm just going to jump right over this week. We have not only the pending rail strike, and hopefully that will work its way out over the next couple 3 weeks. But China's port of Ningbo locked down again due to COVID. So while port operations are continuing, logistics providers, truckers can't get in and out. They're just kind of um, confined to like a circle area around the port, but they can't really move the cargo. So one more shutdown at a major port in China, actually one of the biggest ports in terms of cargo volume. East Coast ports, in particular, South Carolina ports, a lot of congestion still. West Coast, LA Long Beach in particular, looking a little bit better, but East Coast now has a lot of the congestion. Vessels at anchor can't get in, stuff sitting there on the water. And then the big news this week, last 2 weeks, I'm sure most people have kind of heard the story about the grain barges not being able to transit the Mississippi due to low water levels. National Weather Service predicted that this week it would hit a record all-time low of negative 10.7 feet. So uh, boy, it's yeah. If it's not one thing, even on the transportation side, it's something else. So yeah, some doom and gloom. I'm just gonna pile on that bad news for you there.
Well, and I have some things to share too, because yeah, I was looking up a little bit on the barge traffic situation on the Mississippi, and yeah, according to the American Farm Bureau, barge is a nice alternative for in terms of logistics for the ag marketplace. On estimate that's about a tenth the cost of moving things by rail and 1/16th the cost of moving it by truck when barge is available. And according to some of the statistics, 7% of U.S. freight moves by barge annually. And even more importantly for agriculture, not quite half, 47% of the bulk grain that goes for export markets goes by barge. So if
Yep.
there's no barge traffic, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, actually, a couple weeks ago, costs were $90.45 to transport 1 ton of freight from St. Louis, Missouri to New Orleans by barge. That price was triple what it was 12 months ago. So, yeah, what was a bargain and still is. I don't want to, but we bemoaned the shipping costs, that containerized shipping costs that quadrupled or more over the last couple of years. They're coming back down to earth a little bit, but now we have barge prices on the way up. So yeah, just never ending. At least it gives us good fodder to talk about on Retail Week, huh?
It does, but let's do a little change of pace here because again, this is sort of a downer beginning for our viewers.
It
Something
is.
a little happier, we're hoping. I know myself and you will be next week in Kansas City, Missouri, at our first annual PACE Executive Forum event. I know we've been gearing up. I know myself have been gearing up, getting presentations ready and talking to panels that I will be moderating for and making sure everybody is ready to go. But that event's taking place on the 27th and 28th of October, next week in Kansas City, as we said. And if you want to give some more highlights as well, and then we'll share a little special offer with our viewers if they're interested too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think our team internally here, I believe we may have a couple more prep calls that we're going to conduct this week, but for the most part, we've concluded our prep calls. And I think after going through the prep calls, really getting into the nitty gritty and some angles and discussion points with the moderators and panelists, honestly, I'm even more excited than when we initially put the program together. It's like, wow, this is really great. We're filling a gap here that's not really being addressed, bringing in multiple stakeholders, not just those in the core ag space, and to really give us a well rounded view of what's going on and how we're thinking about that differently. One thing that came up, and I'm just a little teaser. I'll probably mention this when we're on site there and giving the welcome to the audience. But one thing that's really emerged for me in discussions with our speakers is that not only is it, thankfully, here we have all these great ag tools to choose from. Things are more affordable. We have a nice array of things that we can use to address various areas of the operations, but all the great ag tech tools in the world can't make up for a lack of will or a willingness to look at things differently, a shift in mindset, a little more openness. And I think every prep call I've been on, people have kind of said that it's not only the hardware, if you will, but it's the mindset that has to come along with it. And that's the real kind of discussions I really groove on. I really am excited for next week. It's going to be great.
Yeah, and as I said as we were leading into this, if you by chance find yourself with some free time on your hand next week and want to join, maybe if you live in the Kansas City area or nearby, if you will drop an email to myself or Lara Sowinski. I know my email is Erics, ERICS, all lowercase, at CropLife.com. And Lara, if you want to share yours as well.
Yes, L for Lara, SOWINSKI at meistermedia.com.
Yeah, so if you'll drop us an email, we will be able to provide you with a special discount code for registration. And if you want to join, like I say, you will get a little break on the registration fee. And then we will look forward to seeing you in Kansas City next week, hopefully.
Yeah, it feels like a family and friends pass that we have a couple that we could
Yes, exactly.
dole out. So, yep.
Yep. So one other thing to share, I guess this will be filed under the heading of something to keep an eye on. A few weeks ago, we actually got word that the Federal Trade Commission, I guess, has been considering filing a lawsuit against a few of the crop protection companies in our marketplace. That would be Corteva and Syngenta for what they termed as anti-competitive pricing practices. And we found out in the last week that 9 states, including Iowa, have joined in that lawsuit against those 2 crop protection companies. So the one quote I was able to find was by the Iowa Attorney General Tom Miller. And he basically said farmers are paying unnecessarily high prices for pesticides on top of soaring input prices. And he deemed that as unfair in his eyes and the eyes of other attorney generals for a few other states that have big interests in agriculture. So we will have to see. I did not see in the report that I was reading about a timing on a trial or anything at this point, but obviously it's something to keep an eye on, because whenever the Federal Trade Commission gets involved in these kind of things, they do tend to stick around for a little while, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, a lot of good information on the FTC.gov website, specifics about the lawsuit and making the case on the FTC's part as to why they're pursuing this. So, certainly some good info there. And I also, Eric, tried to find a little more in terms of dates and next steps and such, and I don't see that. But as you said, we're certainly tracking the story, and anything that new that comes about, we'll definitely share that.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, Miss Laura, then time for your favorite part of the show. Time for fun with numbers.
Alrighty.
All right, so for this week, your number is 30%.
Okay.
All right, so is 30%. A, is that the percentage reduction in corn production estimates for 2022? Is it B, the percentage reduction in soybean yields for 2022? Is it C, the percentage reduction in barge traffic for 2022? Or is it D, the percentage of times I've heard "but dad" from my son this week when I've asked him to go outside and rake the leaves?
Well, that's probably 100%. So I think
Yes, you were absolutely correct, because there has not been a day this week where I haven't asked that favor, and you're right, 100% of the time, the "but dad" was the response. So.
I'm going for C, reduction in barge traffic.
Oh, I am sorry. Yes, I tried to deliberately fool you with that one, and I did. No, actually, the correct answer is B. The USDA has put out their numbers regarding crop yields for the fall, since we're in the midst of harvest season, and they're projecting that soybean yields are going to be down to under 50 bushels per acre this year, and they are in particular blaming the drought conditions that are in the western corn belt states where a lot of the soybeans were grown this year. So again, and that's the negative, but on the positive side, their projections are that with a little less coming in with the harvest this year, that soybean prices will remain a little higher going into the 23 season. So.
Yep. Well, that's good news. And I think probably the barge, I think it's closer to 50%. So I should have known that, but I'll have to look that up.
Like I said, I deliberately tried to fool you with a choice on something we talked about versus something we hadn't, but nah, that's all right. You got buzz this week, you'll do better next week. Now, next week we'll actually be reporting from Kansas City, so you viewers will be getting a little bit of a hint of what's coming up at the PACE meeting, because when we record, it won't have taken place just yet, but we promise in the weeks following next week, we will be offering up highlights and all the key takeaways that we got from the folks who were speaking at that event. So.
Yeah, and if we're able to, get the scoop on some good Kansas City barbecue sauce, like a recipe or something, we'll share that as well.
Yes, yes, holding up bottles of barbecue sauce. That will make for some nice visuals next week in the video. All right. Well, on behalf of myself, Eric Sfiligoj, and my friend Lara Sowinski, thanks for joining us this week, folks. We'll see you again real soon. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below. Your feedback is important to us. We will try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode, and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.